Hello and welcome to another video lecture. So in this video, I'll be talking about, or I'll be discussing the basics of cloud computing. So basically, we're in our next step of the applications development and emerging technologies. So in this case, I'll show you the basic information about cloud computing, and then the next lectures, so we'll talk about some of the important cloud services that that are popular in terms of applications development. So cloud services that we integrate in our mobile apps, so that we can do stuff like social interaction, social like posting something or commenting on that post, or sending an instant message. So this video lecture will only focus on the basic information with regards to cloud computing. So here we'll discuss these topics. So first we'll have the introduction, then the basic cloud computing services. So the fundamental. So I'm sure you're familiar with it if you've already have your cloud computing na subject. And then I'll show to you some of the uses of cloud computing, and then why we choose cloud computing, so instead of creating our own server. So let's proceed to the introduction. So cloud computing is simply the delivery of computing resources as a service. So delivery, so meaning ang services nga nga when it comes to computing, so ano siya, amo nang gina-provide. Kaya previously, so before we have cloud computing, so we have applications like our Word, our PPT, or some of the apps that we install on our local na PC or local na laptop. So aral ang siya ga-exist sa imo nga sa user na siya ga-exist. So with cloud computing, ang applications is wala na ga-exist sa user. Ga-exist na siya over the internet. Pero wala ga-exist pero magamit na siya. So that is those simple na explanation or simple definition ni cloud computing is that services is ma-access right away ni user. So without installing specific applications or yes, so and then siya doon do replacement siya sa applications that we normally install. So for example, we have Microsoft Word, di ba? So the balantaman ara that is a standalone, or previously may standalone na siya na programs that we need to install on our computer. But right now, so we have Google Docs. So for Google Docs, so ang ang application is wala na gina-install directly sa aton nga PC or laptop. So siya ara to sa cloud or sa internet siya ga-exist. Okay, so moving to cloud basically means that the resource are owned and managed by a third-party provider instead of the end user. So muna siya gina-remove with cloud computing, gina-remove pag-install or paggamit sang resources, computing resources man na siya, or resources regarding or being used by the application. So siya, ang resources nga is si third party na nang bahala. Especially for management. So for example, if may update man na si application mo, so hindi ka na magkabala kada si third party na nang bahala. And then last is this means that you don't need to worry about hard drives, mainframes, or where any of this hardware and software is located. Nag-exist siya sa cloud So wala na siya nag-exist sa ating side or sa user side. So wala ka na labot kung pila man na bilhin nga imo nga HDD or ang license maybe sa aton nga software. So pag-updates o pag-maintenance sa atong so both hardware and software, so wala na ta we are free of that worries. Okay, You see, third party na bahala. Huwag muna ang mayo kay cloud computing. So this shift from software and hardware that was on-premise to a network remote resource has meant that companies no longer have to worry about investing in labor, expertise, or capital for the maintenance of these resources. Especially for application development. Example, kung mag-host ka sa server, so before, gano'n ka na siya, set up ka na sa server mo. Tapos si server na, baka ka pa na sa hardware mo, software install ka pa na, OS, ma-host ka pa na sa imong na website dira. So sa standalone na server dira. So meaning, magasto ka na. Mabakal ka na sa materials, tapos ma-hire ka pa na sa tao nga ma-maintain, ma-build, etc. So it has spawned a plethora of cloud computing companies, including the key players like AWS and Microsoft Azure. So if you don't know, so AWS is Amazon Web Services. So I think maybe later we'll touch on that, maybe not. But these are the two big companies nga dominate dito sa cloud computing. Although naman si Google naman siya, matamat man siya lagas. So on the top of different cloud systems, you can also get cloud environments. So this in this slide, we will talk about the types of cloud computing by connection or availability. So not all clouds are the same, and different types of clouds will suit different domains and how the cloud service itself is deployed. So these different types has been developed to try and suit as many different singular needs as possible. So depende man sa usage sa users and users ta. So we have different types with regards to connection or availability. Availability, kung available man si cloud service sa tanan, di ba? Either public, private, community cloud, or hybrid. So let's discuss first each one of them. So for public cloud, these are operated by third-party providers. So they provide computing resources such as servers and storage options using the internet. So while this type of cloud isn't necessarily best suited for regular industries like the healthcare, so they could suit smaller businesses. Smaller businesses meaning ang users ta is doon siya, ang range ng users ta is dako. So we make it public so that most of us or most of the users can use it. So one of the biggest public cloud server is Microsoft Azure, which owns and manages huge hardware and software infrastructures in which us as the user can access online. So anyone can access this type of cloud. The next is we have the private cloud. So this type of cloud environment is owned and managed by one client. So only one client lang, and then ang maka-access man siya is limited lang siya. This means that only the client's employees can have access to this cloud system. So a private cloud permits you to have a much greater control over your computing environment, and data is commonly implemented in regulated industries like finance. Basta finance, back doon na siya ang handle na siya sa private information, especially sa mga client information, so mga statements nila, for example. So this needs to be di sila dapat ma-access ang tanahan. So for example, like private sectors, so they can use private clouds in order to protect their information. So private clouds are usually physically located in an organization's office building, but sometimes third-party service providers are also employed. So may araman na third-party services nga provide sang private cloud. So they are much more secure than public clouds. Amo na private, public ba? Amo na ang keywords. So next is we have the hybrid model. So hybrid is a mix of public and private. So sometimes known as the multi-clouds, hybrid clouds are basically a combination of private and public clouds. So these clouds basically allow you to move information and data between private and public clouds. So this can give your organization much greater flexibility and can optimize your infrastructure. So depende mo na sa sa goal sa inyong sa inyong company. If you want to make this service available to all of your users, so stick lang kamo sa public cloud. But gusto nyo limit the private, and then if you want to mix, then you can use the hybrid cloud. So ang AWS are one of the biggest companies that offer hybrid cloud solutions. So now let's discuss the services that are present on the cloud computing. So we have three fundamental main models for cloud computing. So each of which offers customers different levels of support and flexibility. So there's also some overlap between all three of them, so it can get a little bit confusing. So when trying to get in your head around what they all mean. So these services are occasionally known as the cloud computing stack. So as they are often built on top of one another. So knowing that each one of them is how they work will give you a clear sign about which service might be best suited to your needs and requirements. Okay, so now let's proceed to the first one, which is the infrastructure as a service. So may harata keyword nga infrastructure. So also known as the utility computing. So this is the on-demand delivery of computing infrastructure. So meaning ang gina-offer nga service is it will let users pick which operating system to use, tapos ang storage man na ang types ng storage, ang size ng storage, kung SSD man na or HDD. And then ang networking kung ano man na type ng networking, dasig man na sa or hina. And then the other components, so is outsourced to a cloud computing company or service. As the individual or the company, you'll buy what you need as a pay-as-you-go model. So when we're using infrastructure as a service, so mapili ka na siya. Ang options mo is you'll choose the operating system, ang storage, networking. So kung naman ang available ang hardware nga gano'n nila nga gina-offer. So the simplest example of this service or the infrastructure of a service computing is ordinary web hosting. So for web hosting, so mapili ka na ang operating system nga ibutang ta. At pila man na ang storage nga gamiton ta. For example, if we're going to host a social media na website, so we have to consider that people will the amount of post over time will grow large to ang database na madako, tapos ma-upload pa na si users ng pictures. So you can choose a specific option where the storage will fit your actual needs. So this is where you pay a monthly fee or by megabyte or gigabyte to have a company host your files from their service or from their servers. So very flexible ni siya, as it permits the user to customize the infrastructure of the cloud computing environment. So infrastructure meaning foundation, very foundation sang on how the computer runs. So it includes mostly both the required or the fundamental software, which is the operating system, tapos ang hardware, which is storage, networking, etc. And amo lang na gina-offer ang ginahatag sa cloud. So for the rest, you have to install it on your own. And now next is we'll proceed to software as a service. So this is when you complete application on a third-party server or system. So users can access these applications on demand via the internet without having to download or maintain any software. So this kind of technology is really popular with businesses and general users, as it's usually easy to adopt. So it can also be accessible from any device, and there's often range or paid or free options to choose from. So mambata nga si software is ang this third party offers the software na. So built-in na, no need to code, no need to build the application. Ara na siya, readily provided. Na popular na siya kay si companies will just have to access it immediately or mabayad man sila in order to use it. So wala na developers nga makode, wala na resources nga So very easy to use. So the different services supplied by Google, such as Google Docs and Google Sheets, are also the example of the software as a service. So we have Adobe Creative Cloud Services is another example of this type of service. So with this kind of model, the user is only exposed to the interface that they choose to interact with. So most likely ang interface ng software nga gina-offer. So muna siya do of all. So this is this type of software is very popular na siya with starting companies. Kaya nung naka-package na ang service, ang application, ang function sa isa ka application so that the users can use it right away. Okay, so next is we have the platform as a service. So this form of cloud computing is often used by software developers who are looking to focus on development rather than development operations and administration. So DevOps is more likely on the management side of your applications. So it's effectively an option to develop an application without having to worry about installing, configuring, and maintaining an infrastructure. So this is supplied by the server as a standardized environment. So when it comes to platform naman, si software is gahatag siya sang software or application na. But for platform, so it gahatag na siya sang platform right away. So kung platform na dedicated for web hosting or platform na dedicated to storage, database management, so muna dira aran na sila sa platform as a service. So an example of this is if you develop your own commerce site, so kung na-develop man sa website, but basically have the entire process running on a separate server. So like the software as a service, you're only exposed to the interface you interact with. So this type of service, the platform as a service, cuts down the complexity of setting up and properly maintaining an infrastructure, while also allowing for supported collaborations between teams. So si platform as a service is mas gina-favor ni siya sang developers rather than the consumers or rather than the users that use the application. Kay ang gina-provide niya na is web platform, tapos si developer na siya ang bahala mag-provide sang application in order to run our website or to run our mobile the services that supports our mobile applications. Okay, so let's check this figure right here. So this is an example on how this system works using one of our favorite foods. So as the vendor takes responsibility for more components, you do less. So traditional siya on-premises, meaning the application is installed in your device. So ang application ara sa laptop, ara man sa computer. So all of this gina-manage ta. So blue meaning you've managed, and then ang green meaning the vendor manages or the third party. So, diba? When it comes to traditional, so ang ara ato nga application sa sa local na install sa ato nga device, so you have to manage all of it. So kung i-reflect sa analogy nga pizza, so ikaw ni ma-setup sang dine or ikaw ni ma-manage ang dining table, so mabaka ka na, electric mo, gas mo bayadan, oven, fire, pizza dough, tomato sauce, toppings, and then cheese. So when it comes to infrastructure as a service naman, so may ano na, hanggang some of the components on the pizza are being handled by the vendor, but you also handle some of it. So, sa infrastructure, di ba, mapili ka na sa sa structure sa aton nga application. Sorry, the structure that will support our application. So, operating system, what's this? The hardware, so storage, network, etc. Kaya mo na this one right here. So, this is the structure ng pizza. So, pizza dough, tomato sauce, toppings, and then cheese. So, but the rest, so we have to handle it. So, i-provide ta. But as a platform, or platform as a service naman, so ano na, ang most of the components ng pizza is gina-manage na sa vendor. So, ang pizza, sila na nag-create sang sang dough nga inog galuto, tapos sila na ang galuto, so sila na ang handle sa gas, sa oven, sa fire, etc. And then na lang to i-deliver na lang na siya. So once kuantang ang product, so ibutang na lang sa dining table or ma-provide na lang sa other nga components. So as we proceed, as we go along, so ma-notice nyo ang things or amount of things na gina-manage ta is gilasan until such time nga aray na ta sa software as a service, so everything is being managed by the vendor or by the third party. So muna ang beauty sa cloud computing. So what you may not realize is that you're probably using a form of cloud computing right now. So si Google Classroom is i-type na siya sa cloud computing or cloud services nga gina-offer ni Google. So if you have been using an online email server or use Google Docs, or if you watch TV and listen to music to the internet, so you are inadvertently been using forms of cloud computing. So bong, di ba? In the age of advanced technology, so we consider this advanced technology, okay? Most of our time we spend is we use types of cloud computing services. So YouTube is a video hosting platform. So na siya. So ang videos nga naka-stored na siya sa servers ng Google. So around the world ba na. So ma-access mo na siya every time. So si Facebook, si Instagram, si Twitter, so type na siya sa cloud computing. So this fact made all the more remarkable because even the earliest cloud computing systems are barely 10 years old. So yet already, organizations big and small have been migrating to the cloud owing to the many different things that cloud computing offers to the user. So in this part sa ating lecture, so we'll discuss the different ways people use cloud computing. So this is So let's proceed to the data storage. Data, gina-store ta aton data such as messages, pictures, videos, music, etc. So this is arguably the most common use for cloud computing. Large organizations will end up amassing huge quantities of data which all need to be stored somewhere. Okay? Na-store na siya somewhere para ma-access na siya anytime, anywhere. So acquiring the necessary mainframes to store this quantity would end up being very expensive. So kung kung i-manage na siya on our own, so this will be very expensive. Okay? Kaya i-manage ta pa ang server, di ba? Ma-setup ta pa na. So as we go along, so madamo ang hard drives ang background ta. So that would be very expensive. So cloud computing offers a more cost-efficient storage solution. Okay, so audio and video streaming. So do related man siya sa storage, but in this case, so we can watch or can hear the files that are being played. So connecting with an audience has been made really straightforward by the use of cloud computing. So some people will remember when Netflix was delivered through your letterbox. So previously, ano siya, do si Netflix is ano siya, subscription-based man siya, but instead of offering their movies or TV series online, so gahatag niya siya sang ano, gahatag niya sila sang VHS tapes or CDs or DVDs. So ginano nila, do ginamail na nila sa inyo. So every month na siya. So ibalik mo na ang ano, kung natapos mo ng video, ibalik mo na, and then the next month, matag naman sila sa bagong nga movies. So but thanks to cloud computing, our favorite movies can be beamed through to you via just about any device. So any devices, tablet, laptop, computers, phones. So same man, so goes for Spotify. So no more trips to the library to borrow CD. So CVHS, CCDC, DVD. So gano'n na siya, amat-amat na sila. Fade away. So which is, yeah, that's it because amo na yung garan sa technology is most of the things guga obsolete na siya. And then we have the data analysis. So for data analysis, so cloud computing allows you to unify all of your teams and all their data wherever they might be in the world. So we can use the machine learning or AI to analyze all data using Python to uncover all sorts of different insights, which leads to you to more informed decision making and problem solving. Okay, for data analysis, so imbes nga i-run na or i-analyze na ang data nga tons o millions of data, so pwede na siya magamit sa ano or ma-run via cloud computing. So sa ano na sa kung di man to nga server, so ito na so ginaran, so hindi sa imo nga device. So kung hina man na imong laptop, when we're using the cloud computing, so ano sa si server nga to nga mas powerful, so that can run your application instead of running it locally. And also, we've been using cloud computing as a way to develop applications. So by using pre-made cloud computing infrastructures, so developers can drastically reduce the time and cost of application development. So you can quickly build, deploy, and scale applications using cloud-native technologies and approaches for web, mobile, and API. So as well as using Python for programming too. So Python or Java manasa or Flutter. So they greatly benefit from the cloud computing. Diba, as we've discussed before, most developers prefer the service nga platform as a service, but sometimes they also go for infrastructure as a service. So maka-benefit na sila sa ga-benefit man sila sa cloud computing. So the last topic is I'll discuss briefly. So why we choose cloud computing? So why would you not want to have your own computers, servers, staffers, and offices to run the company? So cloud computing allows you to accomplish a lot more with a lot less. So meaning cloud computing can offer more. So and then as companies or developers can utilize a lot of these resources or services by and then ang effort is do less lang, so di na tayo mabudlayan. So there are many cloud computing services available to individual users, but the big three, so we have the Amazon Web Service or the AWS, so we have the Google Cloud Platform, GCP, then the Microsoft Azure. So the service you choose will depend on the scale of your business. Kung ano ang scale, meaning target nga users So your business structure, kung dako man ang structure sa nga business kung damo man siya branches, damo man siya sectors or sections or components, then how much of the work you want to outsource. So meaning, kung all of the the application, so hindi ka na mag-develop. So you'll want to use a pre-made application right away. So may ara siya, may available na siya sa cloud computing. But if you want to ano to develop your own application, so you can definitely do it with the help of cloud computing. So, si cloud computing ay on demand din siya. So, which means you can access the service anywhere and anytime. So, any devices. So, mostly ang muna ang ilang advantage. So, it is limited by space or size. Kaya di siya limited kay ang resources or hardware software is wala na sa sa kamot ni user. So, you don't need to purchase computers, rent office space, or hire staff. So various models of cloud services offer one or all of those options. So this could mean huge savings as you only pay for what you want. Then since you only pay for what you want, and what you want is accessible anywhere, so you can increase or decrease the scope of your project or the intensity of your work as needed. So this means, number 3, is very important, is mas scale ta or pwede ta mas scale ta nga service or the service that we provide or the service that we need, especially so di ba if you're hosting a storage, so as storage nga website, as we go along, so gadako ang ang storage sa kinahanglan kay gadamo man ng users ta, and si user nga ni ga-upload siya sang videos, sang pictures, sang music, etc. So mas scale na siya. So maybe for example, if manotice ta nga nagamay na si user, so you can downgrade the resources that the cloud computing service is using. Para kay kay wala naman ginagamit, so kung mag-downgrade ka, so meaning so gasot gid sa sa business nga sa applications nga gusto ta. Okay, so that's it for the first video lecture with regards to cloud computing. On the second lecture, on the next lecture is we'll talk about the impact of cloud computing specifically on application development. So we'll talk about some of the key components, which are the tiers. So we have 3 tiers. Kung magbayad ta, kung update ta ni siya ang services nga gina-access ta. So, okay. So, thank you for watching and have a great day.